Or let's try something different. That was for something different. Uh-oh, what happened? Hi, Chris. Hi, Becky. Hi, Lisa. Had to take Becky's bike. What up, man? Can't just throw that out there without saying something. Obviously, there was a malfunction. Was it in the carburation? What happened? What happened? My God, that's not cool, man. I don't like that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Power Keeps Going Up. They're gonna fix that. They're gonna fix that. That's under warranty, baby. Yeah, we'll talk about that later on. All right, everybody. Welcome to Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder. It is 6:02 p.m. It is a Tuesday evening, and have I got a show for you? No, I was just asking the question, have I got a show for you? The proper answer is no, at least not a planned one. Perhaps it will unfold organically, naturally, the flow will go, and the next thing you know, we will have had a show that will have been worthy. But it ain't going to happen because we planned it, right? We're all in on that secret. Hi, everybody on YouTube that's not there. Someday you will be. You'll be maybe my great nephew, and you'll look at YouTube and you'll say, that's my great Uncle Ken. And he used to do a podcast all the time. And check it out. So when that happens, you're going to wonder who's Chris, who's Becky, who's Kathy, who's Lisa. They're people on Facebook, okay? Simulcast. So just so you know. All right. Let's get ready to rock it, man. I mean, like, let's, what do they say? Rocket you into the fourth dimension, whatever that is. They say that in AA. Never understood it, never will. Doesn't matter. I don't have to understand. It sounds cool. Get rocketed into the fourth dimension. Ooh, sounds Twilight Zone-y to me. So, man, I tell you, the world just keeps, I was doing this, but actually the world keeps spinning like that. This is more like a gerbil in a cage. So if you're going to use the English language, Ken, try to use it properly. Just so you know, yeah. And by the way, the music, speaking of just so you know, this show got to go on. We're going to do this thing together. Wow. If I was only high on some LSD, I would understand what I'm doing at this moment a lot better, but I'm completely straight. So why am I talking and looking like this? I don't know. But I feel like I should stay right here in that groove. Just let the world spin while I watch it spinning up on the hill. Come out of it, Ken. Snap out of it, boy. All right. So tonight's music was an interesting selection. I think you'll see, right? I I had nothing in mind. I just started putting music in. And as I started putting music in, I decided that I would just take the name of one of the songs and use it in the title of the show. Very Last Day. Seems like it could be interesting, intriguing. Um, it could be something for us to sit here and talk about the very last day. And we may do that yet. But that's the name comes from the song, the music. It didn't come from the theme of the show. Dolores O'Riordan was, the Cranberries. She was the lead singer, but in this version of Zombie, she's with a symphony. I don't know who Varsovia is, but it's a symphony somewhere else. And then Valley Queen, Pulled by the Weather, is just a folk song thing that I happen to enjoy. And then one of my favorite groups of all time, short-lived, but uptight, out of sight. They were in the groove. They always move. And that is the band called Love. And this was a live version of Alone Again. And you will not regret listening to them now or ever. They were just that good. And Arthur Lee was their lead. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if he died young. I don't know. Don't ask me these hard questions. Oh, you didn't ask me the question. I asked me the question. All right, I take it back. You people are more than welcome to post your questions right on your computer screen. If you'll all take a look, it says write a comment, and you are welcome. I invite you to comment anytime. I only have one specific prohibition, and those of you that are regular viewers know, don't talk to each other. Address me, that's cool. You start addressing each other, uncool. So it's now 6:07. So let me tell you, when I did post the words very last day, I thought of the following. I used to, no, I didn't used to. I have an app, and it's called something like Ready to Die or Croak or something. It's cute. And 5 times a day, they send you some kind of aphorism saying about life. And some of it's pretty poignant, and some of it sounds stupid. So I stopped getting any notices from them. I don't know, a year or two ago, maybe when I went to Thailand. Anyways, I got a new phone, a new used phone, and I pumped it up the other day when I got it, and I set it up, and I started getting the notices again. So if you look at my Facebook, occasionally you will see quotes that I took from that app and I posted. So the concept is, if you think about death 5 times a day, you will be better prepared for it when it comes. And I've had more than one conversation in the past about impermanence, dying, and grief. This is not about grief. This is about the very last day. We're heading into troubled waters. Let me rephrase that. We have been in troubled waters probably perpetually since all of us were born. The world has been in troubled waters. And by that I mean, there's things that are happening ecologically, environmentally, that threaten our very existence globally, besides a pandemic. I'm talking about these natural occurrences. Right now, it is, yes, that is where the Hawthorne quote came from today, Chris. I'll get you the name of the app maybe before we're done here. So, in fact, let me just do that right now, because there's going to be one. Don't forget you're going to die. And there's a quote by Sophocles in there right now. So let's see. 5 quotes a day. It's called We Croak. We Croak is the name of the app. In Bhutan, by the way, is supposedly the country that has the highest ratio of people who are happy with their lives. Bhutan is near Tibet. In Bhutan, they say contemplating death 5 times daily brings happiness. So these people send you 5 quotes a day. Doesn't cost anything. It's a free app. So I got it. It was actually my sponsor in 12 Steps had it. He referred me to it. I referred some people to it. But I only just started getting it because I just got a new used phone. So there you go. So talking about that, and before I changed the topic from electronics, I did get a new watch. It was interesting. I went back to that store. Wait. Yeah, I told you yesterday that I had trouble when I went to the store. So Sunday night, I went to a party, got in the hot tub. My new used watch stopped working almost immediately. Kid at the store said, well, it's not waterproof, dude. You can't do that. So I came home, I pulled up the stuff on Samsung, said, don't go, lower than 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. I went to not even a tenth of a meter for 10 minutes. So the guy today says, yeah, no, if you got in water with it, then you screwed up. And then he said, but I'm going to exchange it for you because I know you've been in here many times, you bought things. And so as an old customer, I'm going to do this for you. And I was all like, and I'm like, well, thank you. What are you going to do when somebody says that? I mean, I could keep arguing about, it's not like you're doing me a favor, man. You gave me a watch and the watch is not working up to the specs that it's supposed to work up to. Therefore, when you bought it, it was already screwed up. All right. So I stopped arguing. And then he said, I said, well, you got a waterproof one? He showed me all the Samsung watches, and none of them are listed as waterproof. And so I looked at various models and styles and prices, and I'll end up getting exactly the same one I had. I'm just going to have to remember to take it off if I get in a hot tub. All right, very last day. Chris says he probably thinks about his death 5 or 6 times a day. I don't know why, but it's not necessarily unhealthy. Some people have a morbid fascination or attachment to death. That is not and Bhutan's a Buddhist country. The Buddhists are not encouraging you to grasp at death any more than they suggest you grasp at life, right? I mean, it's the same coin. It's just 2 different sides. Pain and suffering, joy and happiness, bad health, good health. These are all the yin yangs, and they're all part of each of the same thing. And so whether we're grasping at pleasure or we have an aversion to displeasure, it's the same beast. Chris has been thinking about death ever since January 1, 2018. So that was almost 3.5 years ago. And he'll probably share with us why. Usually people that can associate a date with their concern or focus on death is usually associated with some event that brought them close to death, but didn't kill them, but left them with a taste in their mouth that they should always kind of remember. People who have technically died and then been brought back, they were shocked in or something happened, often have thoughts frequently about death in one way, shape, or form. When my dad died, I started thinking my own mortality. Yes, okay, and my dad died 25 years ago. I thought about my own mortality, but I didn't have a Buddhist practice then, so I didn't harness that feeling when my dad passed away about death. Now, some people don't want to tune into a podcast where people are talking about dying. somebody's already gotten off of this watching this already, so maybe that was the reason. I don't know. People come and go anyways, but I don't think that I have no zero zip intention of bringing up the topic of death as a morbid fascination. I bring it up only because when I listen to the song very last day, everybody going to pray on the very last day, when they hear that bell ring the world away. So there is, I said this a couple weeks ago. I think religion is the answer to death, not my answer. I think religion was the creation of mortality. So way back in the caveman days, people realized, that person isn't getting back up. Can you imagine the first time somebody saw death? No books, no nothing, no explanation. At some point, nobody sitting around the fire had ever experienced death, their own or anybody else's, right? And then Joe, the caveman, or whatever he was, Cro-Magnon, Pro-Magnum, I don't know, just fell over, okay? He was about 25 years old. It was something BC, and Joe just kind of fell over, and the others are like, hey, man, get up, right? Like, dude, get up. Stop messing around, man. Take another hit off the bowl. Because they were sitting around the fireplace. They were smoking some of the local weed. And the guy never got up. Somebody went over and pushed him and said, what are you doing? And they didn't say, what are you doing? They kind of grunted at him. Right? Then they kicked him like, man, get up. Eventually they realized Joe is not getting up. The first death, right? And it has to be in a group because, there may have been other deaths previous to that took place in the woods by themselves. That doesn't count. This has to be a recognition of death. Now, did they accept it? Did they worry about it? Without full speech, without access to books, doctors, scientists, none of those were happening then. Who explained what happened? Who said, dude, Joe gone. Joe ain't coming back. Joe's through. Somebody at some point realized it. How they may have articulated it, I have no idea. But I do know that at some point they recognized it. And then they went in the cave one day and they were drawing and they were being a little sublime. They were, processing, and they drew something that I don't recognize particularly, but was intended to convey death to us and possibly rebirth, reincarnation, whatever, through additional images depicting gods, right? Because what happens when you die? Well, so many cultures have so many positions. You go to Valhalla, you get to sit alongside, Odin and the other gods. I don't know if it's Odin. I don't know, Zeus. Or you get to choose, or you get to go to heaven if you were good. You're going to hell if you're bad. You'll be reborn karmically if you're Buddhist. Whatever it is. If you're Muslim, apparently, I've heard this enough. I don't know anything about it. Apparently, if you're Muslim and you die as a martyr, then you will go to a happy place with 72 virgins or something. I don't know. Again, it doesn't really matter. I'm just making a point of saying that religion seems to have been this manifestation, which I believe probably was strongest and most motivated by a recognition that we're only here for a period of time. If we were immortal, I don't think we would have religion. If we were immortal, I don't know that we'd have gods. I think people would perceive themselves as God. Now, when I say immortal, do I mean somebody who could live forever in the absence of an accident? Do I mean people could be shot and they could shake it off? I mean, I'm thinking of immortality when I use the term. I kind of mean it that barring something like a major injury, you would, in the absence, there wouldn't be diseases and there wouldn't be aging to the extent that you would know death followed. In other words, you would still age, I would imagine. The things would still, the world would still spin. It just wouldn't result in death very readily. And I think we might classify that kind of life as immortality. And I think it would significantly diminish any reliance upon a higher power, period. Now, in AA, there's this tremendous reliance on a higher power, more so than I see in most religious congregations. Now, this is because people who are in the throes of addiction usually try everything to get out of the addiction, to stop the addiction, shy of working a 12-step program. Those of us who have been addicted have tried, not using, just white knuckling it. We tried changing drugs or drinks. We tried getting a better job or getting a better relationship. We thrashed around looking for ways to defeat this personal defeat. We wanted to defeat the defeat. But for those that land up in a spiritual program, of which I'm calling AA one of, these people tend to find a reliance upon a higher power is necessary, not as a balance of life and death, but as a balance of the quality of life. And it's not just 12-step people. I don't mean to suggest that either. Lots of people find a reliance upon a higher power helps them in the now. It doesn't help me because it just doesn't help me. I don't know. I mean, I'm just not that kind of guy. So, but here's what I share with everybody I know, addicts, not addicts, young, old, whatever. I share an awareness that this is impermanent. Whether people say it like that or whatever, everybody knows. The younger you are, the less you may have anxiety or concerns about it. You may dismiss it as, well, I'm so far from dying, who cares? But if you're a living soul and you've evolved, your brain has grown, you come to a point where you recognize that, this ends. And that can be a very spooky sensation sometimes, most of us have tried at some point in our lives, just tried to imagine not existing. If you haven't done that, please type in the comment section, although according to Facebook, there's nobody here anyways. But, I can't just talk to who's here because I don't know what the deal is, but I think some people listen to me when I'm not here. So I have to keep talking even though nobody's here. So I don't have the traditional higher power called God. I'm not a Wiccan. I'm not a pagan. I'm not nothing. I'm agnostic. I believe there may be God. I'm not going to talk bad about him or her or it. But what I've done is I have sat at various times in my life and just tried to think what it would be like to just not exist. I mean, and it freaks me out. It freaks me out even when I'm meditating on death. Eventually, sometime during the meditation, I will get like an electrical tingling down my spine, and I will get ick. I don't want to do that. But like one. Hi, Kathy, Becky, Chris, thank you, and I believe you are the three the screen says are here. So there was this interview with what's his name, Russell Brand, and he says to this guy, they're talking about it, and he says, well, what do you think death is? He says, I think it's who you calling nobody. Well, I'm just looking at my up on my screen, and you have it too, there's this thing that says it's an eye, and it tells you how many people watching. And we haven't never been at a 3 this long. So I don't know why it's showing 3, but 5 of you just checked in. I don't know. I don't know how come. So I'm going by the eye. I mighty. So the guy said, listen, before I was born, there was 2.5 billion years of I wasn't here. He said, well, what do you think happens when you die? He says, it goes back to 2.5 billion years that I was not here in the first place. Very accepting. And sometimes I'm very accepting. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, why are you freaking out? When you die, it's not like you're going to be clawing at the life and living and go, hey, I'm here. Don't, can't you see me? Like in some sort of spooky movie. I think you're not having this function. So you're probably not going to have the anxiety either. But we seem to have this thing built in. It's part of our nature to impulsively survive. So that when we are threatened with that very last day, everybody's going to pray. They're going to pray because they don't want to go. Or they're praying to go where they hope to go, i.e., I don't want to just die I want to go to heaven. I want to see my parents. I want to see my grandparents. I want to see my old pets. Whatever your motivation is, you all know what I'm talking about. I mean, everybody at our age knows what I'm talking about. And then there's the people, and they're quasi-amusing but scary. There's the people that will tell all of you, you're going to hell. And I say that although I've never really sat with Mark and Ann and since we were teenagers, I'm assuming they're not Baptist, and the rest of you I know are not practicing Baptists. But practicing Baptists have this thing that they must embrace Jesus Christ because otherwise they're going to hell. So their motivation that I hear and I experience when I'm talking to them is, I believe in God and I believe in Jesus because I don't want to go to hell and so what they've done is they've staked out a afterlife, and it's got 2 options, heaven or hell. And so they're living in today in anticipation that I don't want to go to hell. I'm not motivated by heaven or hell in the least. When I've been confronted with the question, do you believe in Jesus Christ? And I've said no, and they've said you're going to hell. I've always said, well, I don't agree that I'm going to hell. But for the sake of argument, I'm willing to go there. In other words, I'm willing to go to this dialogue of, yes, maybe I will go to hell. But why would I be anxious? I mean, they will tell you it's eternal damnation. I'm here to say that if you think going to heaven and seeing your old pets and seeing your grandparents and everything is a upbeat kind of thing, well, going to hell is going to be like that for me. I mean, my parents didn't believe in Jesus. So if I have some sort of desire to see my parents, see my old pets, see my old friends, I'm pretty sure I better be going to hell given the parameters as they've been presented to me. You dig what I'm saying? Like Gary Corsi, okay? Gary, I'd love to see Gary again. I can't imagine that Gary turned his life over to Jesus Christ before he died. So my expectation is he's probably in hell if the Baptists are right. My friend Jerry believed in Jesus, so he won't be in hell, and I will miss him. But, I mean, in the balance of things, I'm going to get to see my grandparents, maybe some great-grandparents, cousins, nephews. I mean, I'm Jewish. Where do you think my peeps are? If this whole thing about Jesus is accurate, that I'm going to hell, well then, why would I struggle to not go to hell? I know y'all know what I'm saying. I mean, most of my friends and most of my relatives will be there. It'll be eternal damnation. Am I supposed to duck and dodge eternal damnation, even if it means I'm going to spend my afterlife pretty much alone without the old gang? Oh, hell no, man. Shoot. You make your heaven and hell right here on earth, right? I took that line from the Temptations. So I'm trying to live in the moment. I may be going to hell in a bucket. At least I'm enjoying the ride. There you go. There you go. I don't again, I don't know if I'm going to heaven or hell. My position is I don't care if I'm going to heaven or hell. There's nothing in me that's afraid of going to hell. There's nothing in me that aspires to be in heaven. I just don't have that mechanism. I do have that impulsive desire to live. I do have, if you cut off my hair, I'm not going quietly. I'm going to struggle, right? If you shoot me and I'm bleeding out, I'm probably going to call 911 and beg for an ambulance, even if I believe I'm mortally wounded. I am going to do what it takes, I believe. Now, moving forward, what do you do when you have a terminal illness? And, it's not about getting to the hospital and getting this bullet taken out of me or this knife wound or whatever, right? Something has been identified, an organism in my body that is terminal. It is it's going to do the job. So So then, how do you live your life? Do you start living or do you start dying? Do you start aspiring to do the bucket list thing, or do you aspire to, wrapping up your affairs, right? And they're not mutually exclusive, mind you, but where your focus is, you're not going to focus equally on both. So I don't know what you can expect from me. I expect, and I have practiced going with dignity. I always picture my daughters will be in close proximity because dad's dying and we want his money. So they're going to show up and, they're going to be, it's going to be comforting to see them in a sense because of the love. And hopefully I will feel loved. And I think that will help the transition. I don't think I want to go alone wondering if I'm loved. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think I will know until it happens. But in the Buddhist tradition of imagining death, I've usually imagined the girls would be there. I told you all, and it's true, I was in love once, only once, where that person replaced all humans for me as the person I would have voted most like to have hanging out with me when the end came. Somebody who, because of the relationship we had, you felt so enveloped by their love that you thought this would be the most comforting thing to experience in your final moments. Like, don't you want to go out in a bubble of love? As opposed to what? As opposed to arm wrestling with the Grim Reaper? I don't know. I have most always thought about death. My dad died when I was 4. It's been very much up and down ride. I just think everybody at some point gets where you're at, Becky. I think, at some point the parents die. And as Chris found out in 2018, you found out at the age 4, I found out 25 years ago, when the parent goes, the propensity, the inclination within us is to feel like they're teeing us up next, right? Because as a parent goes, there's this sensation, well, they're gone, I'm next. You may also experience that when a friend goes, or somebody, a contemporary goes, like even a celebrity who dies at the same age as you. And you look at that and you go, oh my, they're the same age as me. It triggers your sense of mortality. And typically there's two things about mortality. One is it's scary. Two is it's liberating. In other words, if you know that you're going to die at some point, I'm not saying somebody said, March 27th next year, you're going to die. Just to know you're going to die can be the reason you live. I mean, it has been said by great philosophers throughout the ages that without death, there is no life, that without a recognition and all that accompanies the concern about death, life would not be as lush, right? Life would not have the very taste, sometimes pungent and icky and other times sweet and rich and comforting, right? Um, so what the philosophers are saying is you must recognize the death if you wish to live fully. And I can't argue that. I think that's true. Becky says a lot of fear. Other times I'm extremely calm about dying. Becky, you're now a member of the same club I am. People who, when they think about it, have a lot of fear associated with it, but who also at other times find themselves in this place of grace, this place of acceptance. But it doesn't stick around very long, does it? It tends to be fleeting. But in the moment when our emotional and intellectual and spiritual persona accepts the inevitability of our own demise, I think there can be a great awareness, calmness, awakening. It could be part of an enlightenment. It has been something, and I think some people get it in greater measure than I have. Some people are absolutely, nonplussed by death because they are extremely calm. My mom was always like that. When I was young, I became afraid of flying. When I was young, I used to fly, like family would take a vacation. Got on the plane. I never thought twice about it. And then when I was 14 and I was going to boarding school, I guess we had a rough flight. Rough, I mean turbulent. And a couple other turbulent flights. And all of a sudden, I didn't like flying anymore. I just didn't like it. And my mom's thing was, when it's your time to go, you go. I mean, that's exactly how she put it. I'm not going to worry about it. When it's your time to go, you go. She never suggested a fear of dying. My father never talked about it, but he was afraid of it. In fact, my mom told me many years afterwards that my dad would sometimes in the early days, not when I was traveling with them, would take a flask to help keep him calm. Many people take Xanax or something like that because flying scares them, because it's out of control. And if something goes wrong, you ain't got much shot, right? So my mom lived to be 101 in 11 months. And at no time when they said your heart's going to go in, probably in the next year, you need to be in hospice. When they told her, whatever they said to my mom, when she spoke to me, it was a really matter of fact. My mom did not appear to have, but of course, now by the time she was, in her 90s and hundreds, she was kind of worn out. Her knees, she had no more cartilage in her knees. She could not walk without pain. She wasn't going to get a new knee, and steroids had stopped working, and whatever else they used to treat her with, all these things had stopped working. So, but it was only when she was trying to walk, she had her little walker, that she had it. My mom was just gracious, right? I need to mimic my mother. Becky, flying sober the first time was awful. I just knew we were all going to die, and we didn't. I'm very afraid of flying. I flew to Thailand. That was a big deal for me. And I feel like I could do it again. I have flown to Europe, I think 4 times, because you can't drive. And I don't like. By the way, I don't fly high either. I mean, when they suggested I take Xanax or something, and I got on a plane on the influence of Xanax, I was just stoned and afraid. So I realized that taking a drug or any alcohol was not going to do it, because I just felt like, I need my wits about me. Now I'm scared and stoned, because Xanax, you can't be as nimble. I used to get on planes, I was a professional on personal protection. So I would get on, I had a knife so I could cut myself out of my seatbelt. I had a very powerful flashlight I carried, because if you don't die on impact, you're going to die within 3 minutes of smoke inhalation. So it's really important to get out the plane. It's really important, if you survive, get out the plane. And so if I didn't die on impact, I was getting out the plane, right? I got on one Southwest Airlines one time, and this girl sat down next to me, and she's crying. And I'm like, "You okay?" She had her boyfriend, but I think he was in front. She was next to me. And I said, she said, "Oh, I've never flown. I'm scared. I'm terrified," right? And I said, "Well, let me tell you, just if the plane crashes and you ain't dead, follow me, because I'm getting off the plane. Don't you worry. Follow me." I also used to carry a canister that I introduced to in my personal protection training. You cracked it open, you had this mask that went completely over your face and gave you 2 minutes of smoke protection. By the way, that's pretty much what they used on January 6th, the Senate, not the Senate, but the House of Representatives. Remember, they were told to reach under their seats and put these, they call them gas masks. They're not really gas masks. I saw what they were. They look like cellophane. It wasn't like, wasn't that kind of thing. It was something that kept you from inhaling the smoke for, I think it gave you 3 minutes of protection. Not afraid of dying in a plane crash. I'm afraid of the pain of crashing and living through it. Well, Chris, let me reassure you, okay? Here, I'll see you on camera 2. Chris, if you crash, don't be afraid of living through it. The odds are very much against you, okay? Unless you're in a small plane that can land on the interstate, you're really not, chances you let go of that anxiety, babe. So I'm just saying, this has been, for me, I like talking about this kind of stuff. I like discussing these matters, because I think there's such a core spiritual element to it. Oh my God, did I freak you out with that? I'm just saying, I can understand being afraid to fly and dying, but to be afraid of living, that's to me, that's apparently I didn't do well. For those on YouTube, I'm not winning friends and influencing people. You should feel bad. But I think the subject of death, like the subject of life, is really, it is the core spiritual issue, which is why it transitions and becomes a core religious issue. Let me begin to wrap up. Everybody here is smart enough to know that every religion is about living and dying, mostly about dying. You know that. There is no religion that ain't got a plan for death, right? So, oh, Becky, I read about it. I ain't got no interest in seeing Alive. Becky's asked me, did I see the movie Alive? If I recall, you correct me if I'm wrong. Alive is the one where the guy's having surgery. Is this the one where the guy's having surgery and can't communicate because they've that was scary about. Oh, maybe Alive is the one where the soccer team crashed. Am I confusing the two? I think the other one was Awake, where the guy's getting surgery. Alive is with the soccer team, I think, that crashed in the Andes, and they survived, some of them, and they ate the other people. I saw some of that. Looked like a good movie. I'm not worried about getting eaten, by the way, if I die. I want you all to feel free to munch down. On the other hand, if I live, don't tell me not to eat somebody that's dead. I'm not going to kill you to eat you. But if you're dead and it's my understanding that in order to survive, I got to chow down. You're toast, literally. On the other hand, I've told you before, I'm not killing to live. I will in self-defense, but I told y'all I'm not a hunter. So here I am. I'm starving. I'm out in the wilderness. This is my belief. You don't have to believe me. The squirrel walks right up to me, looks at me. I look at the squirrel and I realize that if I could kill and eat that squirrel, I might survive. I'm going to look at that squirrel and say, well, would you like to chat about something? I'm not killing it for two reasons. One, I don't know that I have the skill to kill it. But two, a dead squirrel requires prepping, and I don't prep. I don't skin things. I don't do all the stuff that's necessary to eat what was once a living being. So I'm not silly enough to think that, put me out in the woods, man, naked and afraid, and I'll survive. No, I'm likely to just fade away, die of starvation. Listen, I've gone over time. I apologize. I shouldn't have done that. This is probably why there was only a small handful of us even listening to this chat. Hardcore chat. We lived up to my new possible title for the show, Hardcore Chat. Don't you think talking about fear of death, dying, living, spiritual, religious, doesn't that seem like a pretty substantial thing that we bit into here and that you all, participate? I think you should feel, I don't know why Kathy and Mark and Ann and Lisa, if she was here, or anybody else, I don't know why they didn't have much to say, except I'm here. I don't know why this really became a three-way conversation between Chris and Becky and I, but the others, you stuck around, so I imagine you gave some thought. All right. So I'm meta. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and I bring my hands before my heart. And I think to myself, in this life, may I be happy, healthy, and free from harm, free from anxiety, anger, fear. May this practice bring me to a place of greater peace and comfort, as I would wish for my mother and father, my living family members, and my friends, that they too should be happy, healthy, free from all harm. Find the path that leads them to greater peace and comfort in their lives. To those persons I dislike, I harbor ill will towards, I find them difficult, even them can I share with you to send goodwill, so these persons be happy, healthy, free from all harm. And to all living beings, humans and non-humans, may you be the recipient of our collective goodwill and kindness, that you may be happy, healthy, free from harm, all living beings living their lives in safety, comfort, and peace. Satu, Satu, Satu. Well, thank you. Mark, you're right. I might kill a fish to survive. I don't know why that's different, but I could see doing that. But I'm not killing a mammal, okay? And thank you for at least letting me know you found it interesting. I appreciate that. And Kathy, Chris, Becky, and all the people that will tune in later on because they were busy making supper or whatever, I want to wish you a good evening and tell you that if you're not cooking supper at this time tomorrow, 6 p.m., please feel free to tune in. All right? Thanks, Mark. Thank you all.